I'm John Walsh. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the District of Colorado, and I've been in the job for about 2.5 years now. The U.S. Attorney's offices are essentially the federal government's lawyers in a particular district. In Colorado, it's the entire state of Colorado, and we do both criminal prosecution, but we also represent federal government agencies in litigation, both when they're plaintiffs and when they're defendants. In the U.S. Attorney's offices, we get just a flood of resumes, candidly. And we are looking for a mix of people, some with experience and some with less experience. So we do occasionally hire people pretty clearly right after they graduate from law school, but much more often with a year or two of experience as a lawyer. The reason is that we're not in a position to train brand new graduates easily on basic professional skills. The people who come out of law school are tremendously skilled in analysis and legal case reading, but in terms of knowing what to do when they actually walk into a courtroom, mostly not. With less experienced lawyers who come into the office, there's both a Department of Justice program back east to help them get up to speed on sort of the basic nuts and bolts of actually practicing in a federal court. But also we have a mentoring program in the office where we have a more experienced lawyer team up with a new lawyer to help them with some of those things. The mentorship program that we have in place is really aimed at making sure that a new lawyer knows how to behave in front of a judge, knows how to treat the judge's staff, knows how to be professional with agency personnel, the federal agency personnel, and our own team for that matter, because oftentimes we get lawyers who maybe have not had that experience yet, and it's critically important. In addition to that, it's important for new lawyers representing the United States to understand that their role is not simply to be zealous in the representation of the immediate legal point that the United States is fighting about, but always to keep in mind what the bigger legal context is and really to seek to do justice. In the U.S. Attorney's Office, we have continuous training programs, both in-house and then at a facility that the department runs on the East Coast. We focus principally on developments in the law, but also really ethical obligations and the importance of professionalism in everything that we do. Those are things that are always a challenge, even for people who have been in practice for a while. But for new lawyers, it's particularly important for them to really drink from that well of professionalism, and we try to do that. Government practice is a little different than private practice because we have to keep our eye on the larger picture and doing justice and not simply zealously representing a particular government agency. It's our job, and the courts expect us to concede when maybe our argument is plausible but not correct. What that means as a practical matter for government lawyers and for new government lawyers is having a background and openness to considering both sides of an issue, to considering as well the practical reality of a particular legal position on the ground, and a breadth of understanding, which are all things that are hard to teach in a particular class, but perhaps over the course of an entire law school education, you could get a good start on. And one of the things that a lawyer really always has to be aware of is the audience that he or she is speaking to. And an area where I think young lawyers, newly graduated lawyers, don't always understand is that every public speaking opportunity is not a set piece. It's not like you're always standing in front of a three-judge panel in the Court of Appeals. You may be speaking to a group of people around a conference table, but it's a presentation that needs to keep in mind who the people around that conference table are. So the flexibility and the nimbleness to read your audience, to pay attention to the context you're in, and not simply to bring the same legal analytical firepower to the table is something that I think that a lot of new lawyers don't necessarily instinctively understand. I think that that's something that by exposing law students to a variety of different contexts and different public speaking and communication opportunities, law schools can do a lot to instill. And so one of the things that I think is so important about having a variety of both clinical classes, pro bono opportunities, even moot client interviews, all of those sorts of circumstances can help lawyers not only learn about that particular context, but to understand you always need to be paying attention to what context you're in. One thing that law schools, I think, can do to really foster the professionalism of the profession as a whole is to let law students know that while what they do while on the billable hour clock and what they do in representing the government is critically important to their eventual success, that they also have an obligation and a responsibility to assist the community in a host of other ways, and they're in a uniquely strong position to do that. Pro bono work is important on a variety of levels. First of all, it offers a new lawyer opportunity to do legal tasks that they might not otherwise have an opportunity to do in a firm or even in a government context. Secondly, it exposes young lawyers to a variety of different parts of the community that they might not otherwise have been exposed to. And a good lawyer has an understanding of the consequences and the difficulties that flow from the way the law works. And the only way to really understand that is to see it as it impacts actual human beings. Third, when you think about working with clients, the only way to really do that is to learn to do that well is to work with clients. And even though pro bono clients, to be honest, can often be unusually challenging, it's that challenge, I think, that can help lawyers who are recent graduates really develop the skills they need to deal with different clients from whatever part of society. Letting law students participate in pro bono legal experiences, I think, benefits the whole process of legal education, but it also, I think, gives someone who doesn't yet really know how lawyers can end up helping people, it may give them a concrete sense of how important the work they'll eventually be doing as lawyers is. That it impacts people, that it changes lives, that you have to always keep the interests of your client in mind. Because you really do, in many cases, have their lives in your hands. And those are the sorts of things that can be energizing, they can be intimidating, but they're also energizing. Some of the key skills that law students can be taught while still in law school are pretty simple things. The hands-on experience, I think, goes an awfully long way. Whether that is in a clinic, a pro bono program that gets law students directly involved, or even in sort of mock interviews and mock situations on, for example, a contracts class where you're actually drafting a contract. Those sorts of things go a long way and can get a student's understanding of what the job really is of being a lawyer much further down the road. One of the things that gets lost sometimes in the law school experience is the real excitement and the opportunity and the breadth of what being a lawyer is in the United States. We as lawyers, through our clients, through the problems that we deal with, through the different industries that we represent, really are involved in almost every aspect of how our society works. And when you think about that, that's an incredible opportunity. All too often I've seen law students, third-year law students, think, gosh, I just have to go to a firm and just put my nose to the grindstone. And it's easy to lose the broader picture, which is being a lawyer is a tremendous opportunity. It's an opportunity to contribute to society. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity really to experience the life of our country in a way that very few other professions ever get. So if I had one message that I think that this movement really to change legal education, that I would want this movement to hear, it's that bring some of that enthusiasm back in. Make or help law students understand that there is an enormous range of things that they can be doing, and they get to be ringside observers at virtually every aspect of our society.